Hello everybody and welcome back to the Epic Flight Academy. This is our instrument rating course and I'm your host, Mike Thompson. Now we want you to be successful in the instrument rating course, which means 3 keys. Of course, study this material in Epic's online course and the associated material that you find there. Number 2, boy are we glad you're watching these videos. That's step 2, watch these videos in parallel to that content. And number 3, be sure to review all of this content in detail with your flight instructor. What are we talking about today? Holding pattern entries. And of course, you're going to go through all of this with your instructor, one-on-one, and in the FTD, and in the actual airplane. So let's get started and see if we can get a handle on determining the appropriate entry into a holding pattern. Now, thus far, we have talked about holding pattern basics, and we've talked about holding instructions. So we've got all of that under our belt, so to speak. Now, how do I enter these patterns? Well, there are a multitude of different techniques that pilots use to enter holding patterns. And quite honestly, as you build experience with holding patterns and holding pattern entry, you're going to look back and you're going to say, you know what, I don't even need to use any of those techniques anymore. I know I'm coming directly toward my fix, it's a direct entry, or if I'm coming opposite of my inbound holding course, I'm either going to do a parallel or a teardrop, and it's going to come naturally to you. But for beginning instrument pilots, you know, we have to start out by learning, and we think, boy, how do I do this? Now, the technique that we're going to teach you here is called the heading bug technique. So let's take a look at our first slide here and imagine we've been instructed to hold on a vortex. Now, quick aside, how do I know that's a vortex? See the symbol? Clearly, just looking at the symbol, I can see that's a vortex. My aircraft is currently heading 150 degrees. You see the heading indicator here, or HSI, I should say. Also notice on the HSI, it looks like it's not exactly 150. What could that be? If you said a wind correction angle, you're thinking. So here we are, going to this vortex, and with my wind correction angle, I'm holding 150 on my HSI. And I get this holding instruction. Remember, we're already familiar with instructions. It says, hold south on the 180 radial from the Ormond vortex. Expect further clearance at 1830 Zulu. So if you take a look here, you can see the red line is 180 south of the Ormond vortex. And here's my aircraft heading 150 to that Ormond vortex. Now, unless I'm instructed to turn left, we already know that standard turns are to the right. So in my mind's eye, I put in those right turns, and there's my outbound course and my right turn back to the inbound, and here I am holding south. So with this in my mind's eye, which entry seems the most ideal to use? Well, take a look here as we compare the 3 entries suggested by the FAA to the actual instruction that we're working with. And if you said teardrop, you got it. So we fly that teardrop entry into this holding pattern, make a right turn inbound to my holding fix, which is the Ormond vortex, and I'm in the holding course. Now, if I take and I draw this out on my chart, or I draw it out in my mind's eye, notice everything is oriented to the north. This technique, it works, but it might take a little bit more time, or it could possibly be slightly confusing, because in reality, I'm flying to that fix. And if you look at our HSI here, I'm holding a 150 degree heading. So how do we use the heading bug technique? Simple 4 steps. Step number 1, imagine that vortex is the center of your HSI. Do you see how we have overlaid the vortex on the HSI here? So I'm going to pretend that vortex is right in the middle of my HSI. Step 2. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to imagine my aircraft on the bottom of this HSI. Well, of course, because I'm flying a 150 heading. Okay, step 3, very simple, and this is why we call it the heading bug technique. I'm going to put my heading bug on my holding course, and you can see that right here. We have moved the heading bug to 180, and I'm imagining that red line from my heading bug to the center of my HSI, and that's my holding course. That's step 3. And step 4, very simply, I now just imagine in my mind's eye those right-hand turns, and there I have overlaid that holding pattern over my HSI. Now remember, the inbound leg is always to the holding fix. So here I am flying 150, and I've been instructed to hold south. I've used the heading bug technique, and what will my entry be? Well, as I fly toward that fix, I'm going to cross it on the inside of my holding pattern. I'm going to make a right-hand turn. You see the green arrow here, my right-hand turn inbound to the vortex. And it looks kind of like a teardrop, right? Hence the name. That is the teardrop entry. So what we want to do now is we want to practice with a couple of these holding entries. Now notice if I overlay that heading bug technique on this HSI, I can just take and spin that inbound holding course right around my HSI, and wherever I spin it around my HSI, it's going to lay out that holding pattern, and I'll be able to quickly determine my pattern entry. So let's walk through a few examples, review our 4 steps. Remember step 1? Put the holding fix in the center of the HSI. Step 2, put my aircraft at the bottom of the HSI. Step 3, put the bug on my holding course, hence the name holding bug technique. And number 4, just visualize my turns, left or right. If I'm not instructed to go left, remember standard turns are to the right. So let's practice with a few. The first one is going to be right turns with a teardrop entry. Okay, this one should look familiar. The aircraft is heading 150. We're instructed to hold south on the 180 radio. We have not been instructed to turn left, so we know it's right turns. Holding fix is in the center of the HSI. Heading bug is on 180. I draw my holding course in my mind's eye. I lay in my right turns, and I can see that the teardrop is my best entry. Example number 2. Again, right turns. This time, we're going to see a parallel entry. My aircraft is heading 090, and I have been instructed to hold northeast on the 030 radio. So, step 1, I put the fix in the middle of my HSI. Step 2, I imagine my airplane at the bottom. Step 3, I take the heading bug, I put it on 030, I draw that holding course in my mind's eye, put in my right turns. Now, taking a look at my HSI and the holding pattern, we can see that the best entry would be what we call a parallel entry. Fly to the fix and parallel the inbound course as I'm heading outbound. I'm then going to make a turn to the left and come back to the inbound leg. Example number 3. Here we are going to see right turns and a direct entry. My aircraft is flying 350 degrees. I have been instructed to hold southwest on the 210 radio. Step 1, I put the fix in the middle of the HSI. Step 2, I imagine my aircraft at the bottom of the HSI, flying to the fix. Step 3, hence the name heading bug technique, I put the heading bug on 210. I draw the inbound leg in my mind's eye. I know that it's right turns. I picture the holding pattern on my HSI, and I see that the direct entry would be the appropriate entry. All right, folks, let's try 3 of them with left turns. I've been instructed to make left turns and hold north on the 360 degree radio. My course is 045. So what do? Step 1, I put the fix in the middle of my HSI. Step 2, imagine my aircraft at the bottom of the HSI because my course is 045. Step 3, bug the outbound. So that is 360. And now in my mind's eye, put these turns in. Remember, these, in this case, it's a left turn. And when I picture that on my HSI, I see clearly the teardrop entry will be my best entry. Next example, my aircraft is heading 120. Again, I have been instructed to turn left and hold south on the 170 radio. Step 1, put the fix in the center of the HSI. Step 2, my aircraft is at the bottom of the HSI. Step 3, I bug 170, draw that inbound course in my mind's eye, and lay in my left-hand turns. Now, with that holding pattern envisioned over my HSI, I can see that once I fly to the fix, I am going to parallel that inbound course going outbound. Hence the name parallel entry. And my next example, I am flying 270. I have been instructed to make left-hand turns and hold east on the 100. Put the fix in the center of the HSI. Imagine my airplane at the bottom. I'm flying 270. Number 3, bug the outbound. That's 100. Envision that inbound course. Step 4, in my mind's eye, lay in those turns. Remember left-hand turns, and I can now envision that holding pattern on my HSI, and I see that a direct entry would be most appropriate. Well, folks, I hope that heading bug technique makes some sense to you as you practice with your mind's eye, laying out that holding pattern over your HSI. Now, what I want you to do is go ahead and practice some more of these with your flight instructor, then fly them in the FTD, and by the time you go to fly them in the aircraft, in the IFR environment, it'll start to come naturally to you. Well, folks, that just about wraps up holding pattern entries. Join us next time.